Hey everyone, and welcome back to my Completionist playthrough of the Baldur's Gate Saga with SCS and Ascension. So last time we've had an epic battle against the Yaga-Shura and his army, and by defeating them, we have avenged the people of Saradush. And here I'd like to draw some attention to this event once again, in particular to what Saravok said would happen, according to Elondo's prophecy. If you remember our first visit in the Pocket Plane, when we spoke to Saravok about what was going to happen next, he said that the Sword Coast would run red with blood, and that the culminating struggle would take place in the Tetherian city of Saradush. So, as we can see, we're moving right along, according to the steps laid out in the prophecy. And there was also one more thing to mention about the whole matter. Saradush was of course a sanctuary for the Bhaalspawn, and as Yaga-Shura mentioned in his journal, most of the remaining Bhaalspawn were brought into the city. So now after its destruction and after the massacre that took place, we can assume that most of the Bhaalspawn in Faerun have been killed by now, and there's only a minority of them still left alive. Especially when it comes to the prominent ones, the ones that grew to be powerful combatants. Because we are of course aware of the existence of some stragglers like Vikang, for example, who managed to successfully teleport out of Saradush. But these Bhaalspawn, the ones that never had much of Bhaal's essence in their blood and were never contenders to become the next Lord of Murder, are not that relevant. But the most powerful Bhaalspawn, well, there's only a few of us left. So that's where we are in the main story. Also, one thing I would like to mention pertaining to the last episode that I just forgot to talk about, when it comes to Yaga-Shura, there's a pretty well-known and funny way of killing him in the unmodded game, even before he retreats and comes back later with his reinforcements, and that's done by casting Time Stop and shapeshifting into a Mind Flayer to drain his intelligence in 3 hits completely and killing him that way. In our mod composition this would not be possible, and I wouldn't have done that anyway, but it's either SCS or Ascension that makes him immune to intelligence drain, but still, it's a pretty funny thing. Also, one other thing about Saravok being chaotic good now is that of course that makes him now susceptible to spells like Unholy Blight, which is not a major concern, but something that needs to be mentioned, because of course when he was evil he was completely unaffected by such spells. Also, we have this clairvoyance spell prepared from earlier to uncover the remaining bits of terrain and to take one last look at Saradush and its southeastern walls, I guess, that are still standing strong apparently, even though some of its towers and pillars have been knocked down. Also interesting shadow here. But anyway, one last thing we need to do is the 2 level ups. So Senashira is going to become a level 22 mage, and that means an additional level 6 and level 9 memorization slot, and from the high level abilities we're going to go with improved alacrity, that she might get some value out of here and there, and of course we're going to go for the damage dealing abilities last, and we're going to have level 30 on Sir Anomen, which is going to be unimpressive, as most of his upcoming level ups are going to be, but still, this brings him even higher in levels when it comes to especially the relation between, remove magic and his effects that should be stronger and stronger to just stay on our party members. And yeah, now we can just take a look at the aftermath of the slaughter that we took part in and just look at all of these corpses, all of these armors on the ground. I love such sights in Baldur's Gate. And we're going to be able to loot everyone, and first we're going to loot the most prominent characters in the battle, like Yaga-Shura here. So first he had in his possession this rune hammer, which, as it's said here, it's basically a mace of disruption in warhammer form, and it is yet another item that's it's kind of a shame that it appears only this late in the game, because it would have been cool to have like a toned down version of this item back in Shadows of Amn, where negative plane protection was a major concern, and having another source of that would be very appreciated. But anyway, it does provide, of course, the negative plane protection. It deals bonus damage to undead and carries the chance of killing them instantly. And even though it comes into play pretty late, it's still going to be somewhat useful for us. There's going to be a variety of ways that we can use it on Senashira. We can place it in her offhand when we need negative plane protection and then give the Amulet of Power to someone else, or when it's upgraded, because this is one of the upgradable items, we might even use it in her main hand and transfer Crom Fair to her offhand to retain the 25 strength, but have more main hand attacks that can just instantly kill undead. We're going to see about that. but we're going to, of course, hold on to it. Next we have this Shurapax plate, which in my mind is kind of custom tailored for Jaheira, really, because this is a full plate +3 that has an innate nice armor class on its own, but also gives this +1 dexterity, which rounds up the dexterity of Jaheira very nicely, going up from 17 to 18, giving her another bonus to her armor class, and also has 20% fire resistance that can be stacked with various different pieces of equipment that a character like Jaheira can wear, like the ring and the helmet that would give her already 80%, and with her armor of faith she would be able to get to 95, or once she gets her level up in Druid, even attain full immunity to fire resistance, which of course means that we can use our red dragon plate like we've been using on Saravok, and that with the ring can give another character full immunity to fire. And of course, as you can see, I've already switched his equipment back to normal. Yeah, we're going to hold on to this armor. It has some decent armor class, which of course, you know, is pretty irrelevant in Throne of Bhaal, but it's still going to be a useful item for us. And finally we have the Shield of the Order, which in our party would fit Sir Animan the most, both when it comes to gameplay reasons, because he was the character from our party that used shields for the longest time, and when it comes to the role-playing aspect of it as well, because it used to belong to another great champion of the Order of the Radiant Heart before. So we're going to give it to him and sell the Sentinel, but, you know, the lessening relevance of armor class and Throne of Bhaal, I'm not sure if we're going to use it that much. But anyway, next let's loot the lieutenants of Yaga-Shura, because they also have quite a few things that we want to pick up. And here lies the Lieutenant Thief. Here I think died the Lieutenant Fighter. Has quite a few things. They mostly just have magical equipment of like +2 enchantment. Some basic stuff that we're going to be able to sell for quite a bit once we are done looting everything. Here was the Cleric and the Mage. And we're also going to individually loot the corpses of the generic mages and fire giants that died in the fight, because they have quite a few items that we just want to pick up and we're going to be able to sell in bulk. There's going to be a lot of these Wands of Monster Summoning and these Staff Spears +2. And then once we are done with such corpses like these ones, the Fire Giants and the Mages, we're going to just use the quick loot to quickly scavenge probably for some of the big Throne of Bhaal potions, because that's basically what we're mostly interested in. So yeah, the next one died here. And we've had a couple of mages in this southwestern corner as well. And I'm misclicking a bit because of my cold hands as usual, but we're almost done here. And I think I did not... I'll loot this one properly. And I think that's it when it comes to those corpses. And here we're just going to... there's one more. And now we're just going to look for some nice potions from the other... Yeah, I think the Clerics of Talos have 4 of these potions each. Also the officers have a magical weapon, potion of invulnerability. We're going to loot some of that stuff, but... Oh, even a mislead scroll. Another 4, and I think there was another Fire Giant corpse in there. Alright, this one. We can loot faster like this. Yeah, I think that's going to be the extent of it. Oh, 4 more potions here. And we're going to leave this incredibly valuable scroll of infravision on the ground, for example. Yeah, I think that's going to be it. That's everything we were interested in. Alright, now we're going to teleport into our pocket plane and take care of that challenge that we have unlocked in the previous episode. Also, we're going to rest. I've changed our spells a little bit to prepare, and that was mostly because I actually forgot to memorize a power word kill as one of Senashira's level 9 spells, because I didn't really plan this rest here, but we're going to have a rare opportunity to get a pretty significant kill using this spell and get some value out of it, so I'm not going to pass on that kind of opportunity. But yeah, now we can memorize it with her bonus slot, and we can get rid of that clairvoyance and replace it with spell thrust perhaps. But yeah, this rest was kind of unplanned, but we're going to rest now and just do the next couple of encounters without resting further. Also, you know, in Senashira we sometimes have this time stop memorized, but it's kind of a safety measure for her. I'm not really planning to use it for quite a long time yet, I think, and that's because Senashira's time stops are just incredibly powerful. Because of course, during time stop, enemies cannot protect themselves, they cannot react and heal themselves, for example, but they also get automatically hit with all of the attacks of the mage that cast time stop. So Senashira, of course, would be able to unleash such a tremendous amount of damage over the course of those 3 rounds where opponents cannot do anything about it, that it's basically an automatic win for us in a lot of encounters. A little bit later on, opponents are going to have some answers to that kind of thing, but you know, for now, that's the reason that I'm not using time stop on Senashira, although it is of course an extremely powerful tool in her arsenal. But anyway, I think we are ready now. If Sespinar can stop his little casting thing, that's what's blocking the rest. And yeah, before we go and do this encounter, we are going to have to pre-buff somewhat. It's not a particularly tough encounter, but you know, it's of course easy to get complacent and get caught by some dangerous thing that you know, we can be too lazy to prepare for, I guess. I think we are going to also give our mages immunity to abjuration. We have a little more of those memorized now again on Senashira, and we're also going to want to enter this fight with some true seeings going on. Now that Jaheira started casting it, we're also going to start casting it on Animen so that we can have 2 of them ticking regularly. And we're also going to have a backup in the form of Kirinai with her Detect Illusion, because we're going to really aim to dispel the improved invisibility of a certain mage very quickly, and we're also going to use our limited wish here to give all of our party members protection against negative energy. Alright, protection granted. And now we can go in and see what's up. So this challenge is of course going to be all about the alternative version of events that the Solar mentioned to us, that could have happened if Gorion saved Saravok instead of Senashira. And of course, since we went with the quote-unquote good conversation response, this is going to be the evil version of the opponents, and of course we have the volcanic area with the lava pools that can damage us, but we're going to talk about these opponents in more detail very soon. Let's first see what the alternative version of Senashira has to say to us. Look on me, Senashira. See yourself as you might have been had Gorion taken Saravok instead of you, had your path taken a different turn. Look on me and know that I despise you, and resent the ease in which you lived. I would have given much for a home and a father such as Gorion. I shall not allow you to exist. Stop me, if you can. Alright, and there's going to be 4 opponents, 3 of them visible, and Angelo starts while invisible, even though, of course, we have not revealed this terrain here, but, we wouldn't be able to see him anyway, because he is invisible for now. And this whole encounter is a bit of a throwback to our final encounter in Baldur's Gate 1, because we're going to have Semaj, which is, of course, James backwards. We have Tomoko, Senashira, and Angelo. There's no Tazok, unfortunately. But anyway, when it comes to these opponents, James is a level 20 mage. Tomoko, in this version of the encounter, is actually a level 23 Kensai with some pretty extreme physical stats. Like, for example, she has a minus 27 Thaco on her main hand. And Angelo is a level 16 fighter with some uses of cold shot, because he's kind of intended to be an archer. And then Senashira is a level 25 fighter that is equipped with a lot of the different pieces of equipment that we've been able to obtain over the course of our adventures. So she has Boots of Speed equipped, she has the 21 Strength Belt, she has the Cloak of Reflection, and in this evil version of the encounter, there are some very minor differences from the good one. So for example, James here has dark colors, whereas in the other encounter he is dressed in like brighter colors. All of them except Tomoko would have been good aligned in the other version. Only Tomoko is always the same, she is always evil. And also Angelo, in the other version, he has a little lower stats, I think, due to some oversights. In our case here, he has 19 dexterity and 19 constitution, for example, and in the other version of the encounter, where he is good aligned, he has lower stats for some reason. But anyway, when it comes to some slightly relevant differences, they all pertain to Senashira's equipment, because in the other version, where she is good aligned, instead of Black Razor that she wields right now, she would have Karsamir equipped, and also her armor is different. In that other encounter, she has Armor of the Heart equipped, so the armor that anyone can use, that's obtainable in the Underdark. And in this one, she actually has, I think due to an honest mistake of the developers, she has an armor that I think the other version of her should have had. Those armors should have been switched around. Because in this version, where she is evil and wields, Black Razor from the Hell Trials at the end of Shadows of Amn, her armor is the Pride of the Legion, which is a full plate +2 that's obtainable at the end of the Paladin Stronghold quests in Shadows of Amn. So that would, of course, fit her other version way better, the one that wields Karsamir. It would make much more sense for that version to also have the Paladin armor, and this one having the Armor of the Heart, but of course that's such a extremely minor detail that only a dork like me would care about, but still, I believe this is wrong, and should not be like that. But anyway, when it comes to this encounter, like I said, it's especially compared to some other encounters that we've been through recently, this is going to be pretty easy, and for some reason, neither SCS nor Ascension really does much with this encounter. Of course, SCS gives everyone the improved artificial intelligence and pre-buffs and whatnot, but there are no further changes than that. And I wish there was a separate component under the tactical challenges in SCS that would be called like Saga consistency component or something that would actually attempt to bring these people here closer to what they are supposed to be in the saga, or what they have been in Baldur's Gate 1, and of course make the encounter much more difficult at the same time. Because Angelo, for example, of course, our final fight that we've had in Baldur's Gate 1 was much improved by SCS, but even in the vanilla game, Angelo is still a fighter mage equipped with arrows of detonation, whereas here he just has arrows of fire, and he is just a level 16 fighter. I wish he was, again, a fighter mage, properly equipped, having a nice arsenal of mage spells, and Tomoko I would actually make a fighter cleric, and with a full set of cleric pre-buffs and some fighter high-level abilities like Whirlwind Attack, she would be even more dangerous than she is right now. But anyway, James is going to be, still a high-level mage with high-level abilities, not to be underestimated. And Senashira here, can be a little bit problematic with her Black Razor sword. That's why we have protected ourselves against negative energy, so that we are not level drained by her attacks. And we have some spells that we want to unleash here. We are going to cast a quick Dolorous Decay on Tomoko to slow her down. Blinding her wouldn't really do us much good, you know, like debuffing her Thaco by 4 would basically make no difference, and I think she has not that much trouble finding someone to attack anyway. Then when Angelo reveals himself, we are going to blind him, so he can't be too annoying with his arrow shots. And we're just going to, I think, unleash most of our damage on Senashira first, just to remove her out of the encounter, and we're going to see what pre-buffs James is going to start with. And perhaps we might already move Kiranai a little bit closer and use her Detect Illusion to remove his improved invisibility status as quickly as possible. Anyway, let's see what happens here. So he does have Spell Turning, Spell Trap, but no Spell Shield. Alright, that's cool. We're going to be able to take care of that pretty quickly. We are going to cast well, first we need to, of course, wait for his illusions to get dispelled here. Alright, he casts Spell Thrust at Senashira, which is going to dispel her spell immunity to Abjuration. We did unleash our Dolorous Decay on Tomoko, and I think since she is so close, let's actually direct all of our attention onto her first, perhaps, and we are going to blind Angelo now that he has revealed himself. Alright, now he's blinded, and we can just attack everyone here and wait for those illusions of James to be dispelled. Now they are, due to our True Seeing. Now our first order of business is going to be to cast Ruby of Reversal. Yes. And I think since Senashira cast already, we're also going to give some scrolls to Kiranai. We're going to get one secret word, and I think even just to be super extra sure that our plan works, and what we have planned, you know, for James does not fail, we're going to give her this scroll of lower resistance. And basically we are going to first cast a secret word from Kiranai to get rid of his spell turning, and then we're going to cast lower resistance because he has 15 magic resistance coming from his gear, his Robe of the Archmagi and his amulet. So when he is lucky, he can, you know, ruin what we have planned for him. Anyway, Tomoko already died. I think we're going to go for Senashira next. Alright, there was a Greater Malison unleashed by James here. Not a big problem. Alright, Angelo decided to retreat for some reason. Alright, now our spells have been unleashed, it seems. So now we can just go with the extra safe approach and reduce his lower resistance, and we can do it with the scroll, which normally would be, you know, rarely useful for us. Normally, whenever we want to lower the resistance of a target, it's usually a very magically resistant creature, and we want to, of course, put higher level lower resistances that we have memorized on our mages, probably in a spell trigger to unleash multiple of them. But here we can just use this, you know, level 10 scroll from Kiranai, and it's going to be all that we need here. Alright, Senashira is dead. Angelo, it seems that he might have become invisible again. Now we have Dragon's Breath cast on Kiranai, and that makes me realize that I forgot to pre-buff with our protection from fire that I should have done. So now we can just bring everybody away from Kiranai, and we could quickly equip her with at least a this helmet that is going to give her 20% resistance from fire, and we can also give her the Dragon Shield is going to give her 25 more. If I can stop misclicking, that is. Alright, so at least she is going to be somewhat protected against that fire damage. I think Imwen's position is not that great either, but... Alright, that was very little damage. Of course, her cast wouldn't have been interrupted anyway, because she was casting from a scroll. And now, it seems that James is ready for our power word kill. And now, of course, what this spell does is, without any saving throw, without any reaction allowed, this is going to kill a target that has to have a particular amount of hit points. And that's why this spell is not useful too often. Because, by the way, this is actually not entirely accurate, that the target has to have 60 or fewer hit points. Actually, whenever you have 60, you are already protected, I think, and you have to have 59 or less hit points to be affected by that. But James here has 55 hit points only, and we can just use our power word kill on him, and boom! There he goes. So, yeah, kind of a rare occurrence to get rid of a pretty important target like him, just over the course of one spell cast like that. And now we can get rid of Angelo, and that's going to be it. So now this area has been like purified, and has become an oasis, and now these pools of water actually heal. But this is some pretty slow healing, it only heals for 8 HP. Anyway, we have some potions. And yeah, that's the encounter. Now, the dilemma I mentioned in the previous episode, and one decision that I had to think about a little bit, was in relation to the Bhaalspawn ability that we have now gained, Mass Healing, which is a custom spell introduced by, this part of Ascension. And why this was a decision was because this spell I wanted to showcase something new, and this is a really good spell for Senashira to have, but my concern was that it really is a little too good, I think, if you want to use it to its maximum effectiveness. And that's why I kind of was a little unsure whether to go for this or the other option, because of course when it comes to the role-playing aspect of the whole conversation, like I pointed out in the previous episode, both of the conversation options were, that we could have used, were very similar. It's just like the tone was a little bit different, so the only difference for us to think about was the Bhaalspawn ability that we would receive. And if we went with the evil conversation option, we would get regeneration, which would be exactly the same as the level 7 divine spell, which would still be very nice, especially since these Bhaalspawn abilities are unleashed instantly, so this cast time of 7 would not be an issue. So that makes that kind of regeneration able to be unleashed in a reactionary manner. And I think this is a really good ability to have if you are a fighter class of some sort. When you have a nice health pool, you have access to some mitigation like hardiness, and then you can go for that regeneration in case you get dispelled or something happens, and you can just instantly apply that and have a lot of value coming out of that regeneration. But for a character like Senashira, regeneration wouldn't really be all that useful because she is not that type of character. She relies, of course, on protections like protection from magical weapons or stone skins that just remove damage completely from her. Once she is vulnerable to damage, she is going to die very quickly. She doesn't have the most amazing of health pools, and she has no way of mitigating the damage. So once she is vulnerable to physical damage, we are in the danger zone. So regeneration is not that great for her. Of course, you can cast it on someone else, but still. This spell that we now got, Mass Healing, is much more suited, or much better suited for someone like Senashira, and this is essentially the level 5 divine spell Mass Cure, but upgraded. It heals for double the amount of Mass Cure, so instead of 1d8 and 1 hit point per level, it's 2d8 plus 2 hit points per level. So this basically heals for from 42 to 56 hit points, so this is a really nice AoE heal that everyone gets affected by, but on top of all that, it also cures poison, disease, blindness, deafness, and fatigue, which is pretty unique. And that's why I wanted to have this spell, but if you want to use it to its maximum effectiveness and like cure some of these nasty effects on like more than one target with just one spell cast, I think that is too good. I think when it comes to gameplay, it's way better that these effects normally have to be removed by single target means, and usually you have to spend your turn on just being able to cure one person. So basically what I figured is that we're going to use this spell just for its healing, perhaps in combat, and sometimes we might use it out of combat just to cure our fatigue. This is going to allow us to, use 2 hastes after resting, getting fatigue from that, and then removing the fatigue from it, and then we would be able, theoretically, to just, keep on going and keep casting more hastes. Not sure how relevant it is going to be for how we're going to play, especially since now we don't have Edwin, we don't even have that many spell slots for that many haste spells, but it's something to consider. And it's a spell that fits Senashira way better, I think, because she can unleash it even while being away from our other party members. It has a decent range. That spell can provide a pretty high impact spell that is going to instantly heal for a respectable amount all of our party members, and of course it can also remove those nasty effects that we're going to be careful about not to get too much value out of that spell when it comes to those. But anyway, that was the whole thing when it comes to our ability. So this is so cool that Ascension allows us to get a relevant, with the potential of being perhaps a little too good ability, but it's very cool. And the other challenges that we're going to unlock later also are going to give Senashira some more Bhaalspawn abilities that we're of course going to discuss as we go on. And the time flies as usual when it comes to Baldur's Gate. I also wanted to do some other stuff, but I think we're going to leave our next major battle for the next episode. So for now, I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you next time.